This is something that I never thought before. Because with jacket, you have the over, and with this, like I have nothing, and I'm like, how do we do this? Yep, it can be like this. So I thought of a couple of things today. The first topic is already written in the morning because I woke up and I'm like, oh, I have this announcement in my head and I just can't take it off, and I'm going with it, and eventually I come into conclusion that I need to quit following the sort of science that I have learned. So it's something along with the numerology, the astrology, the palmistry, all of the stuff that I have learned because I want to get away from my gift, from my psychic and instinct, and just my observation instinct, because it strayed me away from the human connection, and that's why I want to get away from my gift. But then I'm at the point where I need to allow the gift to come into my life again, because I need it to turn on and have help my clients and my people to eventually get to the next level. And I need that to turn on. And I think, like, because I'm more leaning into the version of the version of my old version, the old version of me that is upgrading right now, I can't help but to fall back into this narrative again. And this side of me need me to be so aligned, so tuned in, so turned on with my instinct and my gift that I cannot run away anymore. And the good thing about this is that it's easier. I don't need to fight it. I just need to allow it. So that's like the key to fall back into your natural state, is that you always being that person. It's hard because the version that you want to be is actually the most unnatural part of you, and you try to accentuate that, but you can't. So that's what happened. And this morning I thought about, I think I need to quit pseudoscience, like believing in it, like following in it, because I get to a point where it actually not aligned with my natural rhythm, my natural system. And I feel it more and more. And I feel this heavy feeling like I'm following something that I'm not supposed to. And I'm like, why am I feeling like this? I don't know. At some point in time, I just being this person that want to use this thing instead of my own thing, my own gift and all that stuff. So okay, and I thought about, like, when did I actually start this journey of, let's learn pseudoscience because we don't want to follow our instinct and gift. And I found that, oh my God, I hate being this person who always know things before I actually learn to know them, because I just like so observational. I'm so like sensitive, and I'm like just have this gut instinct that just told me something that's not supposed to be known, but eventually I just like, you're this type of person. Oh, you have this type of secret. And at that time, when I started to realize the natural part of me, I'm like, I don't like it. I'd like to change it. And that's how I cloud my own judgment with the pseudoscience. But at the same time, I learned that because there is a time when I cannot tap into my instinct and gift. So I'm like, why can't I like tap into it? Because I'm like, I'm so gifted. I'm like so in this like behind the illusion kind of stuff. Like not can not able to do that is actually weird. And I try to fill the gap with the pseudoscience, because there was a time when I'm like turned off, and I'm just like, this is weird. I can't be this person. So there is a twist behind the scene that happened, and that's why I learned the pseudoscience. But at the same time, right now I don't need it, because now I'm really falling. I'm like straying away from my own natural rhythm. So when I learned that I want to quit pseudoscience, I'm like, okay, but which one? But which one do I follow now? Because not following that is actually not the same as me following myself. And I need that transition to eventually learn, oh, I actually want to learn this. And I go into this path. So I call the stage is actually this stage as exploration area, because this is not something like step by step. You actually look into different area of your self, your experience, your reality, in order to see like, is this fitting, or is this just like some kind of illusion, or some a depiction of your trauma. So if that's like the truth, if that's your case, then you might want to look deeper into your state, and that might be in another chapter of inner work. And it is not that. This is not that. So this is more on like, what is my truth? What is my natural rhythm? And the first thing I always go back into is that, from what I learned throughout my life, is that truth can be changed. It's weird to say it, because I believe that truth cannot be changed, but truth is not facts, because truth builds upon feelings that you know, like, oh, this is my truth. This is what I want to believe. This is like the real thing. That feeling exists, and the deeper compounded feeling about that thing is actually evolved into a truth, because it's so dense. But over time, you can like scale it out into with some other facts that can lessen your feeling about the situation, about the thing that you see. So for me, about the pseudoscience is that I have a really profound belief about the things that I found, because at some point it kind of matches with my own instinct. So that's the thing that I believe. The findings that I sometimes found in my journey in learning whatever pseudoscience I'm at is actually to prove that, oh, actually it's working this way. You know the story of me reading my friend who actually have a tumor or cancer. I don't remember what she has, but it's like that deep. And it was because I saw the lifeline with an X. So if this is the lifeline, like the line near your thumb, and if you have like literally X, like you can see it with your bare eye, you don't need to focus too deep into your lines, then you absolutely have something in your physical body that you need to get checked on with the doctor. And she has that, and I'm like, this is not a good sign. If you have this, then you probably have a really awful disease. And she right there and then told me that I'm currently still fighting it. At the time when I was in high school, she was talking to me like that, and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know it would be this real. I'm just sharing what I found, and eventually it got some proof from the person itself, and I'm like, you're right. And that's how I come to believe that this is true. And there are parts of the pseudoscience that's actually true most of the time. But the thing with the pseudoscience is that it can be compounded at some point, and also it can be scaled out at some point too, because of how the interaction between the lines, interaction between how you look, interaction between how your what you have, and also the things that you are facing in life. It can be like, it can look great, but also like impactfully negative to you. So it's very subjective. That's the biggest fact that I found about pseudoscience. It can be true at some point, but it also can be false at some point because of the increase and decrease of value in its own stance. If you have the gaps like mine here between this line and then this line, then you are very individualistic. Now, if we look at the thumbprint, is it thumbprint? I don't think so. So, what do you know? Fingerprint. So I have whirl like 8 out of 10 fingers. I have the independence like to a degree that it was undeniably, I'm so independent in my own skin. Like I don't need anyone to actually guide me. But that lead me into this kind of life where I get to know things, where I get to be so sensible, where I get to like notice too many things when I was a child, not knowing how to actually navigate them. But my biggest downfall is actually I can't interact with it because I don't have the capacity to like be gentle, capacity to be compassionate and all this stuff. And my parents didn't know that, but they also contributed into my independency. So world is actually the sign of independence. I have 8 out of 7 or 7 or 9, not 9. I remember 2 in the middle and then the ring finger somewhere. I don't remember which hands, but I have like really impactful number of world in my fingertips. What do you call it? Oh my god, forgot the name. And that lead into independence and all that stuff. I draw something. This is psychological. I draw I draw myself as a figure on a paper, and it has a huge shoulder because that's how I felt. But I am shouldering the world's biggest challenges in life, and I'm like, I'm happily do that. I'm happily doing that. I don't need to be told like, this is not good, you need to stop doing that. I can't help it. This is just my natural state. So that's kind of a truth that I found in pseudoscience. But over time, I also find that not trusting my own instinct, because I fall too deep into this pseudoscience, I found myself in the confusion state rather than clear state, like what I just told you. So in that kind of realm, I actually don't know how to move in reality. And that's less than the truth about my belief around pseudoscience. I then also get to notice that I don't want it. So this is like the biggest truth revealed to me, is that I actually don't want to follow it. For example, in the numerology that I learned from GG33, it is a great tool, but at the same time, if I use it daily, I don't want to follow it. I have a really non-negotiable negotiable about what things to follow, and I'm very independent in my own approach, and I don't like to be like told like I'm in a cult or something, like this is the thing, you need to follow this and all that stuff. I'm like, I don't want it. I don't want that. Don't tell me anything to follow. I'll follow it if I want to. But this thing is so strict. I'm just like, oh, I actually don't like this. I get to notice that my nervous system start to reject this idea of pseudoscience. And I'm like, hmm, I have, to be honest, I have disregard of just like rejecting the idea that I can't follow the things that I found, because it hurts my pride to spend the time and learn about this thing. And I'm like, I don't want to actually know that. Why do you make it so like in my face? You don't want to follow this. I hate myself for actually feeling that, but then I get to see it. I can't lie to myself. So yeah, that's how the truth can be changed, and possibly around the pseudoscience. It is true that at some point you can find a proof from other people, from your own experience, but there is undeniable truth if you feel something like I do. And I'm like, I feel like I'm being dragged around and I don't want it. I just want to follow my own thing. Can I do that? Can I do that? And like, or special note, you don't need anyone's permission to actually do anything in life. And I'm like, I start to negotiate with myself. I'm like, what if actually we fall into the darkest part of what the numerology have told us? And I'm like, so what? Are you going to live as a slave, or just because you're scared? Because I don't think I can do that. Exactly. So what are we doing here? Why are we following the things that would enslave us for a lot longer, when we already like stray away from the chemistry, from the psychology, from the numbers? For the records, I also hate when there is a research about numbers. Like, there is this amount of people who actually do have this thing going on in their life because they have this thing going on also. And I'm like, that doesn't say anything about me having the same thing as them, with the might say that this for the same reason. Doesn't say anything, because then it's like already pre-written, and I'm like, I don't like being told. I don't like being dragged around by something that I have yet to find true. Well, it can be like some idea to explore, but that's one of the things. But don't say to me that this is the thing that you actually need to follow, because that's a cult, to be honest. Whether it's a religion, whether it's a information, whether it's like some medical advice and all this stuff, like, let me put my mind into it first. Let me put my identity into it first. If I can balance it out and all this stuff, I will actually take it on as a yes. But if I'm not, then I actually want to find something else. Now, if we already know that there are some plus and minus in the things that we believe, it doesn't actually say that we believe the other thing, because then we need to do this basic identification. By that, I mean, like, if you have something you want to belong, then you need to find the feeling of this is it. And I have literally not in a space where I'm like, is this it? But then when I think more about it, it is more foundational than I thought, because the feeling of this is it. It's more like, it's like you are in a scale, and you just like start tracing yourself, moving deeper into the scale, and at some point you feel like this is enough. This is it. I feel this is okay. I feel this is like my space. That's the thing that you're trying to find. And for me, I find myself to be a lot more simpler than actually believing the rules that being told in pseudoscience. And that's why sometimes I fall out. Oh, that's the word. I fall out from this knowledge, this information because of that. Because I'm like, my God, there is so many definition around information like this. Numerology from 1 to 0, there is a stance on it. Like it's so clear that you cannot have a different thought than what it is. And I'm like, that can be true. That cannot be true because I have my own identity. I have my own feelings and thinking. And I'm like, I also have a different experience. So it cannot be said as that one specifically. Well, you can follow it, depend on what you actually want to believe in life. But that's also like subjective. It doesn't say anything about like, this is the only truth that you can find in the world. And I'm like, let me change that. I have a different thought about it. So that's the thing. Like you find the scale, you're like, okay, this is it. The feeling that you don't need to actually find other things, the feeling of like it fills all the gaps within your reality, and you feel like, oh, I'm in the right place. That's the only thing. But with the pseudoscience, I find myself like, there is some other space that actually not filled with this information, and I'm like, if I don't feel that space, then I will also feel like I am incomplete. And that's how I feel about it right now. Like I don't actually feel fulfilled when I'm following this idea. I'm looking at my notes right now if I have anything else to say. But also like there is another sign is that sometimes your fear, what do you call it? Catcher. That's not the word. Fear instinct, meaning like you are in fear and then you feel some certain psychological, physical sensation. And if you know that you are in that stage, then this is not it. Because you cannot move in your natural state with fear. Fear actually decreasing your chances to actually move with your natural instinct. So if you are feeling that, either you are moving deeper into the scale, or you actually start retracing yourself and relieving from this negative sensation first, and then go back into the scale. Because that's usually also how I do find my truth. If I'm like, oh my God, I feel too much, I'm overwhelmed with this situation, and I pull myself out of the situation, calm myself down, and when I get into a state where, okay, we can try again, that's when I come in again. Like tracing the scale. Where is the actual balanced state of mind? That way is actually more beneficial if you're working with your trauma. If you're in the traumatic event and you're trying to push yourself to a limit, you will burn yourself. I did that with my sexual trauma. I'm like, okay, can we actually go back into the scale and start tracing where is the balance state? And then I can't. Then I try to find other support that can help me sustain my stance on the scale, because sometimes like, it was so hard because I'm just in fear all the freaking time, and I'm like, I can't handle this. Okay, let's escape for a little while and then go back inside, and that's what I did. But with the pseudoscience, it's more like I already know where to belong. I don't need to find myself like tracing back and forth. I'm just like, is this it? No. Is this it? No. Is this it? Like I keep going deeper and deeper because it's a lot. It's something that is more simple than trauma. Trauma is a lot harder than you think. If you are someone without a trauma, I feel like you cannot force anyone to tell you the story of how they are going with their trauma. My friend used to tell me a story about like she is felt alone because in relationship with her boyfriend, her boyfriend doesn't seem to tell any story about himself, and she likes to be part of the story, so she wants to know the history of it. And I'm like, you are so self-centered. Why do you expect someone who doesn't want to tell you the story to tell you the story? Maybe it contains any trauma, and that's why they want that they don't want to actually tell you about it. So like, I literally the kind of friend that if I notice something wrong, I say it to your face. I would not be kind. My friend also titled me as someone who, you are the kind of friend that would always heal me. And I'm like, that is just my destiny. If you are near my circle of friends, you will notice that I am much older than I'm actually is because my natural impact to the world is actually healing. And that's why like I hate meeting someone that needs some effort in healing, because then I am going to be their supporter. I'm going to be like their best friend. I'm going to be like their therapist and consultant. And I'm like, I don't want to work. I want to also have fun. And I rarely find someone who can actually like have fun in my present. It's rare, but I'd love to find them. So, and if I go back to all the things I have told you about this pseudoscience, I found myself that I'm going back to the simpler state of mind where I don't need to follow rules, where I don't need to follow what is this person say about this thing, or what is this person say about this thing. I'm just following what feels right, what feels like this is it for me. And I write something about that here for the final word. But also like in the finding of new pseudoscience that I like to learn, I have the need to merge that with my natural state, because at some point I want to cloud my own judgment so that I can sustain a connection, a human connection, a human interaction at some point. But now, because I know how to do that without clouding my judgment, I'm coming back to where I began. And sometimes like that's why like also like, I found other things that is not pseudoscience. That is hard to follow. My goodness, I want to sneeze but I can't sneeze. There are also other things that I can't follow because of how strict they are. And they felt like a pseudoscience. Like people told me like if you are doing in a work you need actually journaling, and like I don't actually journal. My point of the process of how I process things is actually a lot complex and a lot simpler at the same time, but also like there are too many preference points to be told in a one freaking line. So I tend to think slower when I'm journaling, and I'm like, I don't like that. And sometimes the thing that I feel doesn't really have any word. It's just like the space with feelings. It's like you are seeing colors in a black ocean. Doesn't have any word, but that's how I feel. How do you actually put it into words? Well, if I was learning communication, verbalizing what I feel, I would actually use journaling as a tool to amplify what I want, how I want to share things. But in this kind of state, it doesn't work because my intention is different from that. And also, like I tried to do checklist, doesn't work because it needs me to be like so. Have you done this? Have you done this? Like overwhelmingly, like I haven't done so many other stuff. I'm like, I can't do it. Even if I'm like, I already done this, I need to write it down. I'm like, why? It's already done. Why do you need to write it? As a memo? As a note? Why? It's just like feeling so overwhelmed. But because I'm coming back into checklists, but with a different approach, because in the past I used checklists as, have you done this? You gotta do this. Have you done this? But right now, like I'm more into like, okay, this is the list of options that we can do. If you cannot do all of it, it's fine. You can do it the next day. If you find something that is not aligned, or you find something that eventually doesn't comply with your through your overall intention, then you can just scratch it out. And I found that to be more intentional than just like, okay, this is the list, just follow it. I'm like, I have different thoughts. I found something else that just that just an upgraded version of the things I have written down. Also, I don't like routines. So I have really strict frameworks about how things work, but I don't like routines, and that's why I have a hard time following it. Because a routine is like a checklist, but it's more like when you do a maintenance, I kind of forget the word, habit. Maintenance habits is something that you need to do once in a while. But routine is somewhat like that. You have steps 1, 2, 3 that you need to follow, and if you haven't done the first one, you cannot step into the third one. So go back in the line and start doing it by the steps. And I'm like, I don't like steps. I have a really difficult time following steps because of that. So I'm like, can't work. So I'm like relearning, abandoning, all of our things again, because of I need some space, I need some duality, I need some Gemini energy, like I need like that a flip of a coin is sometimes so different that I kind of forget. Then I go back into relearning the things that I already knew but somewhat feel fresh once in a while. And that's like how I feel about these things. And so maybe in the future I would actually go back into this thing, because it would just fascinate me and I feel refreshed, I feel inspired, I feel my creative engine is actually moving forward. Maybe in those time I would actually go back. But in the pseudoscience stage like this, it would not benefit me in any way, because the work that I'm about to do, it doesn't need this. It is as simple as that. And I'm coming back to a degree where everything is just simple. This is the last line that I wrote in my note. But with this point of reference, the flow will be faster, the process is simpler, the journey has less steps, because all I know is this. This is it. That's all I know. And I'm actually letting go this all pseudoscience that doesn't work in my favor. Detaching is also a skill. So sometimes there are people who have problem with forgetting. Detaching is actually the same kind of problem with that. And I'm like, I will actually need some process, because I've been deep into the thing. And if I want to learn some other stuff, is there any difference? I'm just lighting up my table lamp. Yeah, it's a lot simpler. I forgot what I said. And that's like the thing. I'm letting go the pseudoscience. Detaching. So most people have problems with how to actually let go, and they never actually do that because they don't know how. So I come to realize once more, like, because the pseudoscience doesn't come in alignment with my true nature, I eventually have to let it go. But when I like tap deeper into the frequency that has already mixed with mine, that is not in the same form and density, meaning like if you are mixing color and you are about to paint, you can't mix oil and water based color because it just won't mix. That's how I feel, because mine is more oil, but that thing is more water. And I'm like, this just doesn't blend well. And detaching from that state, it's a lot harder because you are picking the energy until the last drip, the last drop of it. And I'm like, I don't want to spend too much time on dwelling on the idea that I need to let it go. I'm just like spacing, drawing, how to actually tell this, because this is not something that I write. I just thought about it before going live, and I'm like, the idea of detaching. Wait a minute, I'm processing it. It's already 30 minutes. Didn't know that. We actually started really late because I was working on something else. And I'm like, I'm not in the right mind to actually do the live stream. I found that I don't need lipstick if I'm just like biting my lips, but I need to do it pretty often. So, mm, I actually already told you about that. So, how I found to detach myself from, to let go from this idea of pseudoscience, actually the speed, because I found that my natural speed rhythm is a lot, still a lot slower than what this pseudoscience told me, because they are very static. They have the same speed all over their journey, and I'm like, I'm not that person. Sometimes need to trace back and just hide somewhere, and this tool doesn't allow me to do that. And I'm like, okay. And I found that because I'm left behind from the things I learned about the pseudoscience. I'm like, oh, I actually don't follow that. And I just naturally falling behind from the things that I learned. And I'm like, oh, it's actually feel a lot harder to run towards the thing when I don't actually want it. And I found it very clear that, oh, this is actually not my thing. I found that space where I feel very different from the things that I learned, and eventually I'm like, I don't need this. Very easily said, because I found so many difference in the way that this pseudoscience system is than mine. I have a very my way, where this pseudoscience actually have, this is the way. And I'm like, I don't even teach that into to my people, and why would I actually follow the things that told me like this is the way, and like no, that's not supposed to be the way. I just think that that would be the way. So I actually said that to my mom. My mom has very strict rules around the house, and I'm like, no, that's on you. That's not on me. So yeah, that's the two things that I found today, is that how to find your truth, finding the balance, and also like how to detach from your past truth. Because some of the truth change, and that's why like I let myself to fall in truth and then fall out truth. It is part of the process. Facts is different. Fact is that facts are something that you can never change, because you've seen it happen this way. The person say it this way is a fact that it happened that way. So it's like you are in court and you cannot bypass any recorded proof that was provided by the people. And that's the truth that I found, and that's the facts that I found is true. But then there is also subjective manner, where you think about that thing in a particular level, and someone else out there might actually feel differently. That's just the subjective. That's why it's true, and nobody can say shit. And I also watched this movie that actually about people in court, and this person has a really big instinct that I don't think this is the truth, but everyone else, because he is part of a jury, and there are 13 juror, I don't know how to say it, right? And he is one of them, and he is the only one who said, I don't believe it. I want to find the proof myself. And then he go into the place of accident and found the truth that is aligned, that found the facts that is actually aligned with how he feels. And he was very upfront about it. No, I don't believe it. And it's like so childlike. And when you are being so childlike, there is no one out there can actually say no, because you are so stern in your own belief that no one out there can say shit. And I feel like that's how we all need to believe about the truth from our own reality. Be the child. Because how can people change your mind when you're so childlike about what you believe? Because child has those things that is really not victim, just like in a cage and feeling so limited and all that stuff, but they love in the cage. They love being caged in those they love being caged with the idea. So it's like that. That is the truth that you're playing. So yeah, let me leave you with that. What are you working on that actually something you believe in? Because this is the truth, and I hope you find something useful here, because I'm not really speaking in the right grammar, I feel. So yeah.